Welcome back, humans. Welcome to the Jeffrey and Hillary Quadruple Smackdown Anything Goes Carousel Festival Part 2. Welcome to the studio.
Yo.
Rush of ideas and just imagination and chaos. You know, you make things, you break things in the span of seconds just with your thoughts.
Kinesthetic style, but only within the mind.
Take a whole idea and deconstruct it and then rebuild it in a completely different way.
Swimming in chaos.
Welcome to
I
Just
can't
Even
with
myself.
Right
now.
Let's go.
One of my biggest arguments was the washing hands situation. I threw down because I was like, I already did. She's like, I didn't see it. We're like, oh, you want to wash it?
Really?
Well, we'll get a hose right now, girl.
Wait,
Great.
she made you wash your hands again because she didn't see you wash your hands?
Yeah, well, it was one of the early stages of our friendship, full-on early stages, where she didn't trust my ability to keep clean, and I didn't like her ability to constantly be in my face about it. Now, because we're friends, we don't care. It's an exception thing. We already know. Because the thing is she actually has a point, and the point being is that we actually have friends who don't wash their hands. We have friends who touch everything and really start touching food, and
That's
it's for her it freaks her out.
I'm sorry.
So she doubles down, and she's a 126. Her tri-type is the triple compliant, so she doesn't know how to assert necessarily unless it's those moments. So I gave her the benefit of the doubt, but because it was directed at me and I also had masculine SI, I threw back the response because it wasn't the word choice wasn't even that good either, because it was very effy, come on, wash your hands, and I'm like, no, take this hose and eat it. It was very it was great for what it was. Now it's a funny memory to look back on. It was hilarious.
I just want to observe Nate for one day in his natural habitat, wherever that is.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a bad.
It's so interesting.
It might be an entertaining
I
documentary.
want to know. Yeah,
Nate, do a vlog
Yeah.
channel.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, do we reveal it now? I have
Go
one
for it.
coming up on Monday.
Reveal immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's already scheduled to show up on Monday.
Yeah,
so.
we're gonna be having hello everyone. Welcome to Studio 3C7. Starting from next week. Oh shoot, when is this video airing? Never mind. Not next week.
Yeah, you guys have a crazy schedule. It's you told me it'll be a month and a half before our video goes up.
Yeah.
So yeah, every 5 episodes we do collaboration. We air the collaboration
Yeah,
episodes,
so
so
you
that
got
way people have
15.
look forward. Yeah.
Right, and I think you guys will also be 20, and we might have to split this into 2, so you might also have 25.
The full week. Yeah, you guys could have the full week, which is
Oh
nice.
yeah, or we might just do 2021 or something. But yeah, but we're starting Mondays. Every Monday, Nate is gonna be dropping a mini vlog thing, and every Wednesday I'm gonna be dropping a mini vlog thing.
Oh, that's
heck
cool.
yeah.
that's really
And it's
cool.
called Off Studio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nate
I
said-
spent we spent a good time. We created a whole new intro, a whole new transition.
He says we, but he did it all. It was very nice.
Wait, before we go, we haven't even defined all the functions yet. We went on a huge tangent.
Oh yeah, but okay. Sorry, we're having
Technical issue.
The live.
JC, I know. JC said something about TE earlier, and I wanted to touch on it, but then we bopped around.
It's
so
it's
much.
been an hour since then.
I know, yeah, but you said something about using your TE to get stuff done,
Mhm.
and it made me think I really, when I'm using my TE, I want to apply knowledge of something. I want someone to give me TI, and then I'll be like, this is what we need to do with it.
Hmm.
And I wondered if that
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, I don't want to.
You don't hear enough INFPs talk about this. You really don't.
What do you
a
mean?
lot of the INFPs we've at least encountered are having a hard time engaging with their TE as honest as you are.
This is honest.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Well, it's interesting, Nate, for you to hear you say that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
kind of going off of what you said though, I do research with an ENTJ. He's my mentor. So essentially, we work together so
Yes.
well.
Fuck yeah, I
because
bet.
He looks at something and he and he's obviously so smart. And he looks at something and he's like, this is the way we're gonna go. But if it goes wrong, he needs me to throw out a couple of options so that he can latch onto it and then continue with that. And sometimes he needs me to analyze something, but sometimes I get too deep in like just thinking, and he's like, just make the graph and move on. I'm like, oh, I could do that? He's like, yeah, just make it. He's like, screenshot it, put it in the folder, move on.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa. So I think that kind of aspect is like really interesting as well. Just
yeah. Ooh, okay. So I actually have research experience too. I managed a research lab. Ooh, TE Daddy.
Look like managed
coming out.
Daddy.
That is what I'm taking
what
away
kind
from
of
this video.
research? Wait,
TE Daddy.
Wait, what kind of research?
It was in cognitive psychology. We did research on test-enhanced learning.
That's so cool.
It was cool. Yeah. It was awesome. But yeah, so I mean, just like hearing you talk about your role versus the ENTJ role, I definitely fit more of the ENTJ slot. Like the research assistants were doing a lot of the like, I don't know, TI stuff that I just like didn't want to deal with. Like I did that a little bit as an undergrad, and then I was like, God, once the opportunity came to like be in more of like a manager position, I was like, hell yeah. That sounds way more easy.
Right. I could definitely see the TE being a lot more like, you guys are doing all this analysis. Now let's figure out which parts are actually important for what we're doing.
Which are like the things that we could apply to like the next experiment or the next idea that we want to look at, and then we'll go there.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because you also have like 40 NI, and I think that's like, you know, you can actually project that vision of like, hey,
at least be aware of it.
Let's do something that's useful, not just for your brain. Like, because again, like I read this thing online like this past week. Like the only difference between research and goofing around is when you write it down, right?
Ooh.
So if you write it down, then it's research. If you don't write it down, then like what's the point? You're just fooling around in your own.
Learning. I learned something new today.
Right.
Hey.
And that reminds me, so Hillary and I are both taking a positive psychology class online right now, and we're in this section that's about research methods. And yeah, I guess it never occurred to me, like, so much of the research just seems like, yeah, you're allowed to do badly, just like document everything that you're doing, and then people know, like, well, now you have like a roadmap to how to fuck up, and people at least know not to do that.
Right.
So that's kind of
mean, that's why there is like this huge bias though, like in published research, which is like they don't publish negative results very much because the big journals, like, it's not that interesting. But then that means that people will do the same experiments over and over and over because no one wrote down, hey, this doesn't work, don't do it this way, you know. But like everyone,
people have such ego. I don't know, is it because people have egos? That's what I wanted to say. Like we did one of our experiments actually went horribly wrong because our research assistants were doing the wrong thing in a certain condition that we had, and it fucked. Like when we met with our collaborators and we're like talking about it, we were like, what the hell is going on with our results? And we realized it was because of our procedure. And like I should have caught it and I didn't. But yeah, it like actually led us in a really interesting way. I mean, if you can look at like your fuck ups and are like, oh well, what does it say? Like, what did our fuck up show? And like maybe it can show you a different way to like go down the next avenue. But it is like an ego blow of like, I remember getting so hot in that meeting, just like, oh my God, how could this have happened? Like, oh, fuck, this is horrible.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Like I wrote like a bug in one of my codes, and then I like thought I had a crazy signal on something, and then like a week later my professor looked at my code and he's like, this is wrong. No. You have a huge bug. You like just wrote this whole chunk wrong. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go sit down.
Yeah, that sucks. What are you doing research in?
I'm in a genetics lab, so we're studying dog genomes.
Oh damn!
It's really cool. That's a great two-liner for my research. But
no, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I thought that I'd get to see a lot of dogs and stuff. I haven't seen a single dog in the lab. Kind of sad. It's just like their genomes.
There's no puppies.
Right. It's like
there's no
behind
Labradors.
the scenes.
Yeah, but now you have like the code to like create your own dog.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, like I just like get to stare at the data, and it brings me joy. So, like maybe that's just my TI. That's my TI. But like
That's the price you pay.
yeah, it's the price I pay for my TI. Having joy when I look at my data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that, Jay. I am not that
I
way.
mean,
I'm like,
honestly,
I don't want to like get the data. I don't want to write the paper. I want to then take what the data says and do something with it.
yeah.
Get me
Yep.
out of the lab. Like, I don't know if I'll ever do research again. I was just kind of over it.
For my professor, I think for him, like my ENTJ professor, the part that is like take something and do something with it is the writing the paper, so that people can use that for, I don't know, the betterment of society. Like,
yeah, right.
Because his FI is really strong deep in there too. He's just like, I'm doing this also for the love of science as well as like for the love of knowledge, and like I want to bring more knowledge to the world about these things. And I'm like, so pure. Like his FI
pure noble FI feeling.
Yeah.
Right there.
Okay, wait. I have a question to FI users, because someone told me once, like, maybe it was more geared towards high stack TE, but it was like once an FI user takes you past, because TE is a lot about like boundaries, like setting up wall after wall after wall, and like as you get closer with someone, you have to bypass the walls, kind of. Compared to FE, TI is more like it's like you're wherever, wishy-washy. We have no FI, but like from what I hear, it's like once you leap over enough walls into like a certain area, even if something bad happens, you will always be in that FI. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so, 100%.
Interesting.
I look at people in terms of Ripple. I know the best metaphor I can think of. If you guys watch Attack on Titan, it's like the 3 walls of like the castle walls. Whatever.
Oh yes.
The main wall has myself, let's say the core, and then you have the first degree friends, the second degree friends, the third degree friends. So all of those operate under a dynamically complicated, arbitrary standard that I like.
It's your FI standard.
It's my FI standard.
Right. Okay. So it's not arbitrary to you. It's just arbitrary.
It's not arbitrary to me, but it's arbitrary for the people. Yeah, because to them it's like it doesn't make sense, and I'm like, yeah, because I'm the focal point.
But your FI is consistent within itself.
With that, yeah. So in a way, like the people within the innermost wall, for example, get a lot more benefits and exceptions to certain things. Like I've even said some things to my friends where, because you guys are in this portion of real estate in my heart, I could hide a body for you. Like that level of, obviously not, but it's like in that level of the hyperbole of comparing it, how intense the ethical I'm willing to cross when I have those people within the real estate.
Well,
versus
that's interesting to me too, because like sometimes, especially with polar FI, it's harder for me to measure how close are we really. Like, can I say this thing? Are we that close or are we not? I think we're friends, but do they consider me friend? And I don't overthink it, but I don't know. I don't just know, especially also as an ethics blind. Like, I just don't know what's happening with me and other people. But like something that I noticed though is that like when I think that I've gotten past a certain point with an FI user, but I realize that I haven't, is when something happens and I'm not given the benefit of the doubt. Like if something happens, or let's say someone makes a false accusation against me, and you expect your friend to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that or give you the benefit of the doubt, like assume like, hey, I'll talk to you before I make a judgment. But I find that if you haven't passed that wall yet, then those FIUs will immediately make a judgment on you, a moral judgment, and be like, and obviously I'm like projecting and speaking from experience here, obviously, but yeah, like I don't know, I find that interesting. But as well as every time you approach a wall, the wall is really strong. So like whenever I'm getting close with a high TE user, every time I get to certain points, suddenly they're really cold towards me until I bypass it. So I find that interesting. I don't know if like what the experience is with you guys though, because like a lot of my friends are TJs.
Yeah, I'm not as cold. Like, I don't think us FPs are as cold as that. Like, we don't expressively cold, I don't think. Like, me, like, I'm really friendly, like, as a first impression, right? Like, I'm a goofy person. Yeah. But then, like, I'm also incredibly blunt when it comes to putting in my boundaries. But then it's still within the lens of me being an NFP. Like, I think the most intense things I've said to people was I've said to them, like, we'll never be friends. Like, I've done words like that.
Right.
And it
I
has
mean, you're just
shocked
telling
them.
them.
Yeah, but I'm just
Like,
telling them the
yeah.
honesty about it. And I guess they're not used to it because they're more used to feelers being like, "Oh, we'll always be friends." I'm like, "No, you're not.
That's
No,
a
we
lie.
don't. Like you did. Yeah, that's dumb. Like we're not 10 years old at a playground. Like there's things to do. So I ain't gonna have to deal with your ass telling me like, you know, whispering crap like this, and then I have to take it. I don't have to take it. I like to think of it's so rudimentary biology, but you know the cell wall that has like the little thing, the membrane that lets certain things in and certain things not in.
Yeah.
Like that's
Are
kind of
you a
how
plant cell?
Yes, I photosynthesize. I need the sunlight.
Well, plant cells, don't they have more rigid cell walls than animal cells?
Oh, I
Right.
didn't know that.
They're more
Her TI is
rigid.
better
If
than
you
mine.
look at like under a microscope, like the pattern of the cells, they're like much more rigid and uniform than animal cells. I thought.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sorry.
That's why in a way like I think we're approachable as FPs more so because we are feelers, but in a way we still follow the same principles that TJs can also have about the boundaries and the walls and
I think the thing
letting
I
people in.
have found in the past frustrating with certain FPs is that they aren't clear about the boundaries or about the walls. Like for me, I actually prefer the TJ way of saying like when if I say something, they're like, "We're not that close." Like, okay, like I kind of like it because they just kind of tell me. Yeah, like they tell
when you
me,
can
and then
push on someone.
yeah, and it doesn't have to keep me guessing, and it doesn't stress out my non-existent FI. Because my non-existent FI, considering it doesn't exist, does get stressed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I see it as like maybe because as a creative FI, mine is very dynamic and fluid. So I wouldn't be so open or assertive about the boundary necessarily on the first hit because I still don't know where we stand. But then it can backfire on me. Like you said, like there could be something that does hit and I wasn't ready and I didn't pre-prepare my FI.
Okay.
So I would be
I
offended by
think
something
that,
or like, I don't know.
Like for me at least, or like I've thought that with people mostly they have to like to prepare themselves, they prepare themselves with TE. Because that's the way I protect my weak FIs. I prepare with TE where I'll say to my friends, hey, in past relationships, sometimes like I'm accused of being a little manipulative. So if you see me, if you think I'm starting to be manipulative, go ahead and tell me. So I set up the TE beforehand so that they don't later on attack my FI of, hey, you're being manipulative. Stop talking to me. And I'd rather not that happen. I'd rather that not happen. So therefore, I like set it up beforehand with my TE, which is also really bad. My TE sucks, but it's not as bad as my FI. Because if it's in the moment and like someone tries to attack like that, like nowadays I could take it a little better. But the last time that happened, Nate was there for it. I disintegrated into 9 so hard for like a whole month. Like someone attacked my FI.
I got so upset because I was so angry at the guy and he was
dude. Okay, honestly, like I honestly think I responded really well, but the amount
you
of
did, but there's a price.
Yeah, the price was I got thrown into my 9 disintegration and I just stayed there.
And like it's not like a 9 like you, Hillary, because you're a 9, but it's not like that. Like it's not not
an unhealthy version, right? Yeah, I get it.
Right. Yeah, so like that's what I mean. That's why I was trying to set up the TE, and I realized in hindsight too. That time I forgot to set up the TE. Like I didn't set up any boundary protection or any opportunity for them to be able to share their FI to my TE.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Is it like are you doing that as a self-protection mechanism?
It's a little bit of both, like to protect myself and the other person, because I find that like with the miscommunications, okay, I find that I am really good at communicating, but I don't usually have much emotion to communicate. But I find that a lot of people struggle with like sharing the way that they're feeling or discomforts. So I try to make it clear that, hey, if you are uncomfortable, you can tell me that. And also, if they don't, because if they don't tell me, it'll build up and it sucks for both of us. So I'm like, if you're actually my friend, then I would rather you just tell me, or if you don't tell me, then you have to solve it on your own. Because if you're not going to tell me, I can't be expected to read your mind because I can't, and I don't like. we're not little kids, you know, like you can use your big boy voice, like tell me. But
Well,
Right.
okay. Hill, do you relate to like moments as FPs with our FI that we don't always want to express necessarily because we can't tell how intense the FE reaction is going to be in the room? Because I've had situations with my friend, because my best friend's in ESFJ, so when she expresses feelings, it's very like hard on the sleeve. It's out there. You know she's angry. You know she's happy. You know she's sad. And because you're so close now, there's no boundary to me whenever she wants to just get it out. Like she won't even use tact anymore, which at first confused me because I thought when you're in a realm of, because my FI takes forever to get to that level of intensity for me to like exasperate in anger or like bawl and cry. It's gonna take a while. So when I see somebody do that, I'm like, whoa, you must be really pissed off. But for them, it's in the moment. They just felt it and they just wanted to let me know. And like,
I'm not
this
that
is my
way.
authentic self, right? And it's like I don't. But that's why it's kind of, there's moments where I will purposely hold back even expressing my TE boundaries because I don't know how to match their FE energy.
That makes sense.
And
yeah,
it's like,
I completely relate.
Right? And so in a way, it's almost like as the FP and then as the TP, or maybe to the axis of FETI versus FITE, we're in this loop of just like, we might be in a curse of miscommunication because we're both trying to figure out how the hell is the other person
right. Yeah, and I think for me too, part of this is like the FI, sometimes I might not even know exactly like how to start unraveling something, and I'm worried that if I do, I am just going to be a mess of emotion for a period of time, and I know that person will have, like if I'm talking to someone, that person will have to deal with it. You want to know what's going on, and I'm
vomit
upset
on them, and you're like,
yeah, it's like I don't know, like I'm trying to save me and you by like not opening this can of worms right now because I'm not sure. So it's going to be a lot of me just like not making sense to this other person perhaps, especially if they're an FETI user.
Yeah, and we don't have high TE, so we're not going to lay out the steps to make it easier for them to follow along.
It's challenging for FPs to open up like that to TPs because TPs tend to be the least understanding of those kind of things. Usually,
well, I find that TPs want to understand, but it's like the FP, like with me, have really struggling with TI to like articulate and explain. And then if I feel like I've actually done it, but I somehow haven't or it hasn't made sense, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how else to explain this. And then I'm just like, I don't even know where to go. I just need to think about it for a little bit. But then that can like even greater distance.
Right.
Because I'm like, I can't explain to you.
Okay, so one of my best friends, he's an INFP. He's great. But like sometimes when he can't articulate, what he does is he texts me and says, give me options of what I'm feeling and I'll pick the one and then we can move from there. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. So I give him like TI-ish, NE-ish options. And he's like, that one kind of sounds like it, but let's like tweak it a little bit. I'm like, okay. So he's very clinical.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it is very clinical. Like if I'm like describing my feelings, I feel like I'm just explaining them. I don't feel like I'm showing you unless I'm just crying.
Right.
Yeah. Do you find that it removes like the purity, the sacredness of the FI by explaining it? So we need a TI person out there to give us options so that we can find you the right words that give it the same value.
Says, like, he's like, my INFP says, he's like, oh, like I know what I feel, but I'm really bad at figuring out how to say it. He's like, but you know how to say it even if you don't feel it. And I was like, interesting. So I give him options of what he's feeling, and he's like, that makes more sense because also he's just like, I can't articulate it in the TI way with the right words because TI is more obsessed with the precision of every single word. And also if an FI user explains it to a TI user, we might pick apart their argument with, you felt like that, not like this. And then, you know, like it gets, I know like how annoying you can get. Like I know how annoying you can get. Like my mom's an INFP, my sister's an ENFP. I got like roasted so hard for this growing up. My sister's like, does it matter what word I used, if you know what I mean? I'm like, it matters to me. But yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic, I think.
Right. I think that's also why like NFPs might be prone to like poetry. Like, I find that I am only writing poems if I'm upset, because I so badly want to be able to articulate myself, but it's going to come through these weird metaphors that actually don't have anything to do with my personal scenario. You can read my poems and have no clue what's going on in my life, but it's at least getting across a feeling.
Okay. Something that I've said when Nate and I collabed with Megan, I was saying that, like, as much as TI users, included, we like to say, like, TI is so consistent, logical consistency, blah, 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 TI, whatever, But then, like, as much as there's like the direct parallel of FI is very consistent within itself, It's not logical consistency, it's emotional consistency. It's not emotion, it's like consistency with the framework of your emotions. Right. So just because, like, a TI user might look at an FI user and be like, why are you crying because of that? That's such a dumb reason. It's like, within the FI framework, it always makes sense. It's just you can't necessarily explain it to TI user in a way that it makes TI logical framework sense, but it makes sense within your FI framework. And I think that TI users especially need to be able to approach it in a way of, it doesn't need to make TI sense because it's not TI. Why should it make TI sense? It just needs to make. But okay, the people that make me angry are the people who they aren't consistent within their FI. that is the worst for me. Like, that is the hardest for me to do. But as long as, like, the FI user is FI consistent, I don't even know I feel like I'm talking in a different language. As long as they're FI consistent, I feel like TI users need to make this space to get their head out of their butt and, like, understand that we're working under different frameworks. Where am I going with this? I think I think I can support you a little bit here.
Take the spotlight off of you.
The sun is, like, blasting JC out.
No, I'm thinking of it like, even if it's a different form of consistency, we can recognize that there is a consistency. Maybe it has, like, this murky substructure that we don't really see, but at least at a macro level, if we can come to appreciate that, like, this FI inner world of values has some sort of internal harmony, even if it's a black box and you can never fully, like, break into it, then that's, like, just having that sort of awareness might be sufficient to, like, give it space.
Right, because I know, like, adolescent me, the biggest frustration was just, like, it doesn't make sense, me to, like, my sister, me to my mom, me to my NFP friends that I was surrounded with in junior high, and I'm just like, it just doesn't make sense. And I was like, but they were probably thinking the exact same thing about me, like, that doesn't make sense. Like, but the difference was I was being obnoxious, like, like the typical adolescent ENTP who is just, like, annoying. But like, like, it just, I think the thing about typology, and I bring this up all the time, but it's just, like, it doesn't make sense when there's so many disagreements, like, over character within the typology community, because we're literally studying why we're different. And, like, within that study of why we're different, why do we expect everyone to think the same way that we do? That makes so little sense to me. I'm like, isn't, like, we learn about this so that we could understand that we're all different. Like, I don't know. Just
a lot of people, it feels like the most basic lesson to typology, and a lot of people don't really take it to heart.
Yeah. It's just yeah.
Well,
okay, how many functions did we get through?
I don't know.
Like,
well,
2, 3.
We haven't touched any, but I mean, we're all any users, so what's to compare it?
That's true. I know, it's so hard.
TE we talked about. I think the only one left is TI, because we talked about FI.
Right.
Oh.
Talks about everything.
Yeah, we kind of did.
I really thought we only hit, like, 2 of them. Wow.
Dang, but you're right.
SE.
We really
did. What about SE? Or did we talk about SE?
Well, you talked about for one sentence, and we talked about the SI.
Oh yeah, that's all they deserve.
No.
SE is so good, Nate.
I'm
Don't
cutting
even.
Take it back.
All right.
Suck it back in.
SE. All those SE users are like, oh, you did not just do that. I'm like,
they wouldn't get this far in the video.
No, I love it when SE is like, meet me outside. I'm like, okay. I had an argument with an ISTP.
Where are we going?
And he was like, let's fight. And I'm like, okay, but you have to understand, you throw rocks, I throw ideas. And he was like, never mind, we're not fighting.
That's like I feel like an SE Dom, like huge turn off, you know? They're probably just like,
Yeah.
ew. They
They
probably
don't even want to be around you anymore.
ew, yeah.
Yeah. This one guy, I mean, back in elementary, he's like, I'm gonna punch you. He's like, I don't need intelligence to punch. And I'm like, yeah, but you need intelligence to know how to. And he goes, I hate you. And he like walks away. And I was like,
Oh my God, Nate.
You were about to
So I didn't get the punch? Like I was like but I was prepared for the punch. Like I thought we were just having a conversation.
Nate likes pain.
I don't. I actually am terrified of pain. I really am.
Nate reframes his brain to the point where he asks for pain.
I feel like it's my wing six, guys. It's like that whole thing of like if I ask for it, then hopefully they don't give it to me. Because at least I don't look like I don't know, if I project an image that I'm a certain way, then I will not get what I don't want. So
who is that in regards to? Like acquaintances, people you don't know, or is that friends? Like I
feel like it's a lot of everything. My wing six makes me paranoid in that sense. So because I've had injuries where when I did experience the pain, that was rough. But then nowadays,
okay, hold up, Nate. I have a question to pick your like wing six. Like I'm curious as to how far trust and loyalty goes. Like I'm curious just because like let's say we have a lot of messages like in our message history that could ruin both of us, right? And like how much do you trust that I wouldn't leak those or something, you know? Is it like a mutual like, hey, I have stuff on you, you have stuff on me, we can't? Or is it like
in a way, yeah. But the thing is I'm so out of it, especially when I've let people into the FI hot, that if you do have if you do have dirt on me and you do use it,
okay, I'm not listening.
I kind of like can't really do anything. Here's the thing though, I've taken this application since I learned this principle. I gave my FI this principle in high school, where if I'm caught, I'm caught. Like if you're gonna call me out on something, 1,000% I'm gonna admit it. Yeah. If I'm not caught, is where the fun starts. So it's one of those things. Like if there's a chance I can get away with it, fine, so be it. That's a little bit more my world. But if I'm gonna be like in the room, they're like, okay, you're gonna face it. You're not anying out of this room. We're gonna drop you the SE of the truth that you are this person. You did a monster thing. I'd be like, okay, I'm sorry. Like I'll be like straight up, just admit to it, type of thing. Because I do not remember every dirt you probably said that I could use on you. I don't remember. I'm way too feeling of myself, but I don't think I could.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just curious as to like if you ever if as a wing six, does that thought ever occur to you though? Like, are you like, oh man, if she screenshotted this and posted it?
Yeah, I mean, there's an image of me asleep in my Chewbacca onesie floating around on the internet, and
oh yeah, you mentioned that to me.
Yeah, I did. So people are gonna look it up. Like, where's that Chewbacca? If you want it, I know the person who has it. They can send it to you for free. There's also a meme of me doing this, like trying to process my face. That's floating around in the internet. Also, I actually own the picture, so if you want it, I can send it too.
Were you ever able to process your face?
I could not process whatever it was the issue that I had at the time. I could not. I was like, I don't even know. But yeah, I got some photos running around. I mean, there's a photo of me in a wig. Like that's happening. You know, like I've done
that in our intro. I feel like I might even have that in our intro.
I might be in the intro. I don't know.
Okay, sorry. I'm gonna hard change subject. Sorry, Nate. I know you're talking, but I don't care.
Done.
Okay, so I noticed that like Nate, Hillary and I are a lot like more vocal than you, Jeffrey, and like you're quieter than us.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, like you don't cut in as much as we do. Like I totally just cut Nate off because I don't really care what he's saying. But like, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't cry. I'm in this F5.
You be drawing it with the black.
Yeah. So I mean, Jeffrey, are you a 5? Did you say?
That's right. Yeah, 5 wing 4, and then I think also partially what you may be picking up on. I think this is like an info dom thing in OP. Mm-hmm. So if you have consume and blast both in your top 3 animals, mm-hmm. and maybe I'm not the only person here. I don't know what your animals are. I can't remember, mm-hmm. Jay, but it's like I want to make sure that I understand like exactly what everyone's saying and I have like the information right before I participate. And sometimes like people who are more energy oriented are just like, all right, we like interrupt each other, we roll with it, we do da. And so for me, it's like, well, let me make sure everything, like all of the I's are dotted.
The reason why I was bringing that up is because, like, I mean, of course, depending on the situation, as a 3, right, I'm a social chameleon, right? So if we had, like, let's say Hillary was a little more energetic, a little more outgoing, I'd probably stay a little more back and let her and Nate go at it. But she's like, since her and we match our energy pretty well. I think right now the energy dynamic is like Nate.
Always.
And then like me and Hillary, like Hillary and I are kind of like around here, and then, I don't know where Jeffrey is. He's kind of like here, but like, you know, like, but yeah, like I was just wondering because I'm also consumed first.
Right.
And
oh my.
Interesting. Cool.
Oh,
I
God.
know.
We gotta talk about that
consumed
too.
first.
Okay, not Nate. Nate's not consumed. Nate is play.
Play all day, baby.
No, but also I'm an ILETI, so I'm also again the introverted subtype. But I wanted to contrast that with you because I am very loud and obnoxious, and like you're really more quiet and reserved. I would say, like, do you think it's like keeping your cards close, or is it like just, you know, just waiting for, like, I don't know, like what is your thought process through hearing us talk and talk and talk?
Well, JC, I don't know if you know.
I was talking to
Jeffrey.
But
I have the answer. The TE is already there.
Nate won't shut up, so it's hard to cut in.
I have the TE already though.
But I want to hear the TI, so go ahead.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I do think there's like a degree of playing my cards close to my chest, whatever that means, like analyzing and trying to figure out everything. And then actually, as you were talking, well, yeah, as you were talking, like I relate more in general to 5-wing 4, but as you were talking about the wing 6 or just type 6 in general, I was like, oh damn, like I certainly relate to the conversation you guys were having about like, oh, like kind of maintaining like this arms race of like, I have dirt on you, you have dirt on me. Like I'm aware of like people who could maybe like destroy me in certain respects. And I also am aware that I'm just destroying Hillary a little bit here. I guess that's part of it. And then also, I guess I just like don't like to say things that I don't think are like completely accurate. And I feel like with a lot of things in typology, the more I'm learning, the more I'm feeling like, oh shit, like I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Like there's so many systems, so many, like I feel like
anything can mean anything. You can make an argument for anything.
Right. Is that, do you think, more like the difference between your masculine TI versus my feminine TI?
Probably, yeah.
For me, with like logic, I'm quick to abandon my own logic. Like,
right. Yeah.
Like I'm like, if I bring something up and it's like, I know it's right, but like if someone says, oh, it's wrong, I might be like, huh, it's wrong, you know, like whatever. But like,
yeah,
maybe it's that.
I definitely think that that's probably a component of it.
Yeah. Also, I noticed once we get an hour and 15 minutes into recording sessions, I start being really mean to Nate. Like that happened. Like I just get really mean to him. He was like,
like, hell yeah, I reached
at some point, I just tell him to like,
finally, like, come on.
Like, also in our video, our last video with you, Jeffrey, once we were like 35 minutes in or 30 minutes in, I like told Nate to shut up also. So it's like a common thread of
the endurance fails at 30 minutes.
Yeah, at a certain point, I'm like, Nate. And like, I mean, it doesn't actually bother me. It's more of like a running gag, but I just find it amusing.
I mean, if it's like the dynamic that works for you guys, then go for it.
Also, by the way, I have to pee.
Okay, we'll close it out.
It's funny she mentions it because I do too, but we're not. Your SI is not gonna talk about that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just like, you know, you can edit out whatever the hell you want, but I don't care. People gotta pee, man. People gotta pee.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to end it or?
No, you can do it. I'm just gonna say.
In the spirit of, well, thank you for listening to the backyard session of the Pussycat Dolls reunion tour.
I don't even think I know a Pussycat Dolls song.
Don't you wish your girlfriend was? Shit.
I love how automatic that went. That was so.
Okay, honestly, that was so NE of you to like sing it. Like you didn't like bring it up. You just like
He just went for
sang it, and I find that so NESI like immediately. Like,
Oh,
My
hell.
favorite comment from YouTube was that this show is any porn, and I was
Yeah.
living for that
Mhm.
because
Honestly, it is.
because like I don't feel like there's not enough. I don't know if people like they talk about ENFPs, they talk about ENTPs, but they don't talk about what we are in the wild, like what it actually looks like.
okay, Nate, she needs to pee.
That's
Wrap
true.
it up.
Oh, it's-
So, you guys, thank you so much.
I'm peeing right now because I'm not.
In your seat.
Win. Can this go in the bloopers, please?
See, we got so many drinks.
Girl, I was like 3 down. Okay. Thank you guys so much. This was a blast. It is definitely still not the end of these two munchkins getting into this realm.
Are
We're
they
going to have
too?
yeah, in the tornado of any, it's definitely gonna happen. Jeffrey's and Hillary's channels will be linked below, so everyone
Yes.
can find out where the heck they're gonna pick their
check
brains
it
out.
out. Also,
Yes.
yeah, they have a lot of awesome content. I am a fan.
Yeah, there's like a rap music in one of them
Yeah,
and
thank
playing
you.
in the other one. So it's
Yeah,
working.
I don't know who this Nate guy is though. Weirdo. But yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
joining us, and we will see you on our next episode.
Yeah, bye guys.
Bye,
thanks.
everyone. Thank you.